All right, Russell, I'm going to go ahead and highlight you so you can kick us off.
Great. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. Today's talk will be about downsizing. And so downsizing is a very personal and individual decision that can be on the horizon for a variety of reasons. So it can be for things like cost of living, health and safety, or simply to live with less home maintenance. Regardless of that reason, if you found yourself paralyzed with thoughts of how can I feel confident to finance my future? Where do I start with going through the things in my home? What are my options for housing that makes sense for my lifestyle? And what if assisted living is on the horizon? Who can I trust? So you've come to the right place today to help empower the choices that you make next. So our special panel of National Aging in Place members hope to offer some peace of mind during this transition in your life.
Thank you, Russell. And with that, I will be introducing Russell today, Russell Doi is a home equity retirement specialist with Mutual of Omaha. He combines over 30 years of experience in the mortgage business with an emphasis on reverse mortgages over the last 10 years. Russell has a passion for assisting seniors to succeed financially in retirement and to age in place without stress. He spends much of his free time volunteering to help seniors in the local community because he understands that there are so many needs that go into unnoticed, that are going unnoticed or not being met. It gives him joy to help make a difference. Thank you, Russell.
Thanks, Andriana. I thank you again for this opportunity to speak with you. And as Andriana mentioned, the reason I switched to doing reverse mortgages is that I have a passion for assisting seniors to succeed financially in retirement and to age in place without struggle or stress. So as I learned more about how reverse mortgages work, I realized that this financial tool can safely unlock the equity trapped in so many people's homes to allow them to age in place with less worry and more money to enjoy life. So it's not a gimmick or a way for a bank or lender to take your home away from you, as some people think. In fact, let's address that elephant in the room. The lender or investor's goal is not to steal your home from you. They do eventually want their money back. And since this is a mortgage on the property, just like any other mortgage, you'll have to pay that mortgage back with interest. The difference is that you can pay it back as you go along or all at once when you or your heirs decide that you want to sell the home. So the profit, if you do decide to sell after you pay off your loan balance, goes to you or your heirs and not the bank or lender. So there are some rules to follow to keep this mortgage in place. The home must be your primary residence that you occupy and maintain. You also must continue to pay your property taxes, insurance, and homeowners dues. If it's a condo, for instance, you have to pay that on time. So if you think you'll have trouble paying the taxes, insurance, and dues, you can have the lender pay those bills out of the money set aside from your reverse mortgage loan proceeds. You can also sell your home at any time, and that's you can sell without penalty. That's when you contact someone like my fellow panelist, Yun Tong. So what is a reverse mortgage? A reverse mortgage is a powerful financial tool that homeowners at a minimum age of 55 can take up to approximately 50 to 65% of the value of their home in a mortgage to help pay for bills, supplement income, and add to the retirement nest egg. 55 is the new age for a specific reverse mortgage program that just became available this week. And so this new age should open up many more opportunities for people to take advantage of a reverse mortgage. The FHA reverse mortgage requires an age of 62, or for a married couple, at least one of the borrowers to be 62. So there are specific types of reverse mortgages that can go up as high as $4 million in loan amount that you can borrow depending on the value of your home. So as I mentioned before, you don't have to make monthly mortgage payments, but interest will continue to accrue every month like a regular mortgage. The difference is that you can choose improved cash flow and liquidity to have greater peace of mind because you have money to pay bills and to enjoy fun activities in retirement, or to take care of your health needs for a much longer period of time. So I have a client who loves taking care of cats. In fact, when I met her, she owned 25 of them. She has such a heart for cats, and she became the go-to for any stray or unwanted cats in the neighborhood. So I really love her heart and compassion as a person. The problem was that the cats needed a lot of care and food, and they pretty much ruled the home. She was quickly running through her life savings. She could downsize and move, but she knew that the cats probably couldn't come with her. So that was not an option for her. We decided that a reverse mortgage was her best option. Um, since the cats could come and go through the homes were quite messy, as you can imagine. I knew that the house in its current condition wouldn't pass the appraisal inspection. So what I did was I gathered some of my family and friends and cleaned up every room in the house. And then we boxed up any clutter, set the boxes out of harm's way. I even put up smoke and carbon monoxide detectors for her safety. On the day of the appraisal inspection, I gave her some scented candles to burn and strong aerosol sprays to cover up any pet odors. And the good news is that the appraisal passed, and this allowed her to pay off her current mortgage, eliminating $1,000 a month mortgage payments. We also gave her a large line of credit to add to her retirement and reserves. And she used some of that line of credit to pay off consumer debt. And this allowed her to get back on her feet, not worry about losing her home, and have extra money to continue to take care of her cats far into the future. So had I known Adriana Mendez before meeting my client, I may have asked her company, Junket Move It, to help with the declutter, but I ended up doing it myself. So also, if my client decided to move instead of stay, I would have called, again, Yun Tong, our favorite realtor, to list the home. In the end, my client can now age in place and have the peace of mind knowing that she'll have enough money to take care of her current and future expenses. So what are some other ways clients have benefited from a reverse mortgage? Some have refinanced and paid off a conventional mortgage. I had somebody pay off a $600,000 mortgage they currently had, and we were able to eliminate $3,000 a month in mortgage payments. It really improved his cash flow. I have other clients who just want to travel, so it helps provide funds for travel. Improve the home if they want to improve the home to accommodate their needs as they age, grab bars or widen doorways, things like that. A couple people were still working and they wanted to retire, so now they have additional money to go ahead and retire. A big one is in-home care, which is very expensive. Could be around $30 an hour, which could be between $10,000 and $20,000 a month. A lot of folks don't have that kind of money lying around. So the reverse mortgage allows them to stay in their home, pay for in-home care, and take care of those needs. A lot of folks have consolidated debt or have like a backup resource if anything comes up, like a leaky roof after these big rains we just had, car repairs or unreimbursed medical devices like hearing aids that's not taken care of by Medicare. And then I've got some wealthy clients, and what they use is they use a reverse mortgage strategically. So they use it as a buffer asset. If the stock market in their portfolio were to go down, they don't want to pull from that stock market portfolio. So they have an alternate resource in a reverse mortgage line of credit, and they pull from that when the market goes back up. Then they can take money from the stocks that they have and then pay down the reverse mortgage line of credit and kind of reload that line of credit for future use. And finally, people will use a reverse mortgage to purchase their next home, downsize or move closer to family, for example. And so how do you use a reverse mortgage to downsize? And this is our topic for today. Typically, you would sell your home and pay all cash for the next home. And let's say, for example, someone sells their home and that's $800,000, which can be done in the Bay Area, for instance. They can go out and pay all cash for another home of 800,000. But as an alternative, maybe they would like to save some of that money to add to their retirement. So why not put 50% down instead of paying all cash and finance 50% with a reverse mortgage? So one could save 50% of that 800,000 for additional retirement. And since this is a reverse mortgage, there'd be no mandatory monthly mortgage payments. So this helps both improve cash flow and give more money to enjoy life and pay for any necessary future expenses. So there are many other details that I'm leaving out due to time, but if you want to know more and have a specific situation you want to discuss, feel free to reach out to me and I'll offer you a free educational consultation. I'll spend whatever time you need to hear about your situation and provide you a free tailored estimate with brochures, all kinds of information for you to review. There's absolutely no obligation and no cost. So not everybody needs or wants a reverse mortgage, but I believe everyone should educate themselves about how they work, just in case a reverse mortgage may be needed in the future. So I have people who I've educated even 5 years ago who are now calling me today saying that circumstances have changed and they're ready to apply. The good news is that interest rates are at historic lows and home values are at historic highs. So this is an ideal situation for those who choose to apply for a reverse mortgage today. The knowledge you gain can also help your friends, neighbors, or relatives who could use a financial boost. So you'll know enough not to fear the program or to listen to those who insist that a reverse mortgage is bad without doing their homework. Reverse mortgages, they've transformed over the years to become safer, reliable, and a tremendous financial tool. With $9.6 trillion of home equity available to homeowners 62 and over, why not use a portion of that unused wealth to improve health, ease stress, and to live a quality of life? There's no reason to be house rich and cash poor. So I want to thank you for this opportunity to present this information to you. You can contact me at area code 510-305-9476. And my email address is rdoi@mutualmortgage.com. I also have a website if you want more information, and you could just go on to russelldoi.com. And I look forward to speaking to you in the future. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Awesome. Thank you, Russell. Quick question.
Yeah.
What is the difference between reverse mortgage and equity line of credit? What would be the difference there?
Yeah, that's part of the details. That's a good question. A reverse mortgage, you have options. So you can take a reverse mortgage in the form of a line of credit, which is just like a bank line of credit, and you withdraw money as you go along. You only accrue or pay interest on what you've drawn out on the balance that's there. You can also take reverse mortgage in the form of monthly payments for life. Or if you want bigger payments, you can get monthly payments over a period of term, like 5 years or 10 years, and your payments tend to be bigger. And one more way you could do it is a lump sum, but that's usually not recommended because people tend to spend that money too fast.
Awesome. Thank you. And please drop your contact information in the chat for our attendees.
Will do.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
You're welcome.
All right. We are moving on. That was some very valuable information. So moving on to our fearless leader, Adriana Mendez. Adriana is the co-owner of Junket Move It. Her company offers a full service clean out and move out solutions for Bay Area residents. Adriana and her husband Art are passionate about helping ease the stress for residents through compassionate services during the many transitions of moving and clearing out one's life for a new chapter. As members of the National Association of Senior Move Managers, they focus on honest, reliable downsizing partnership with families who are ready to relocate. And I am especially appreciative of her because when I have complicated cases with families who are attached to that one thing, but they can't bring it to the assisted living, she is compassionate, has a very gentle, loving touch when she's working with those folks. So without further ado, junk it, move it.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to share my screen here. All right. Everybody can see my screen. We're good?
Yes.
All right. Again, my name is Adriana Mendez with Junk It Move It. And today I'm going to be talking about the downsizing, the logistics of downsizing in your golden years. So there's all kinds of benefits to downsizing at this time in your life. Might be everything from lower energy bills, smaller place to clean and maintain, which I know I would be a fan of, or the potential of moving closer to loved ones like your children. It's also a wonderful way to open the door to the next stage of your life. However, it doesn't mean that it's an easy decision or that it's a walk in the park. Oftentimes I hear people say, I'm just not ready. And a lot of times that statement really means I don't know where to start. That's the biggest thing that we deal with, is just the overwhelming feeling, which is natural to be overwhelmed by this whole process of how do I move through my items in order to downsize. And you've got a lot of meaningful things, and it's just something that as you want to go through them, it's the idea of, okay, yes, emotionally, I need to go through these things, and then they need to actually physically move, which is, like I said, a lot of times people have a hard time with that. And so our jobs as senior move managers is to help take that burden off your shoulders, to be your rock, and to really help you through that process. And so with that being said, there's some things you can start with to make this more of a manageable task. And we will try our best to support you during this journey, or at least give you some ideas of how you and your family can do it yourselves. And so one of the first things to do is to think about where are you moving to, and what type of home are you moving to? And maybe you've worked with Christine with Creating New Hope, or you're working with Yoon looking for a new home as a senior real estate specialist that can help you with that, and really providing you the education that you need to make an informed and competent decision, so that you know going forward that you've made the best decision for you and your partner through their consulting and advisory services. They can help you with that. And a lot of times we come in either sometimes before, sometimes after that, to help along with this process. And so maybe you may be moving into, for example, just a smaller home, or a home that doesn't have stairs. Maybe you're moving to a senior community, a retirement community. There's a lot of different places. So that's the first place to figure out, is where are you going? What type of home is it going to be? And then once you've made that decision, you really want to consider, obviously it's a downsize, so you're moving to a smaller space, smaller square footage. So to determine the square footage that you're working with, maybe you're living in a 4-bedroom home right now, and you're moving to a 2-bedroom. So thinking about what items off the bat, can't go with you. There's technology that you can use that we can help with to scan the floor plans and think about maybe that second bedroom that you've always had as a guest bedroom, you want to leave as maybe a reading loft for you and your partner, or maybe you want it to be a craft room. It can really be whatever you want it to suit your lifestyle, so you can age in place happily and with the types of things that you like to do. And then you also want to consider the accessibility. This is something you probably talked to with Christine or with Yoon about ahead of time. Maybe if you or your partner are in a walker or a wheelchair, how accessible is the home? Are there stairs? Are there elevators? What are the grounds around the property like? And thinking about that type of thing. And then also as you move in with the idea that you want the space to be clutter-free, so that you can reduce as much as possible your risk for fall, so you can stay there as long as you can. And we work a lot with folks in doing that. So as they move in, we can minimize these hazards. And then once you've figured out where you're going, you kind of thought about the floor plan, you know how much square footage you have and how much needs to be downsized, it's really determining the timeline. So there's a lot happening here. And I really stress to allow yourself the time to properly process everything. A lot of times downsizing is a multi-step process. To give yourself the space to go through that process without putting too much on your shoulders and too much on your plate, that sometimes people feel so frustrated they end up stopping the whole process. And ultimately it's something that has to happen. So let's take it step by step and give yourself a little bit of space to do that. And then, so if you've already started working with a realtor or an agent, keep in mind that a lot of times that process can happen very quickly once you've signed contracts, say at a senior community, or mortgages have been signed. So consider that once that happens, things can move really quickly. So maybe you want to start this move management process a little bit before that or during the process, just to kind of bring all of the pieces together, because you have to consider that you need time to go through your things, because this is a downsize. This is a process of paring down what you have, and taking less items with you. It's more of an emotional process. So we are move managers. We help with that process and to help make sure that it goes smoother and then so you kind of stay on the timeline. And once you set those forward, we can help you set up, those deadlines and working towards goals and things that have to happen in the process of moving and helping you stay focused and getting towards that overall picture. And then sorting. This is the great big process of sorting through what you have. You probably want help here, whether it be from us or family or friends. Be kind to yourself. Know that this is a process that probably won't be easy, but it's something that has to happen. And in the end, you will have gone through that and be thankful for it. And so you have to think about, obviously your deadlines, things that, that if you've got a home or if you've got a contract and you've got a move-in date at a community, or if your new home's going to be ready by a certain date, you want to kind of back up a little bit from that, set up some checklists. Consider your style when you're going through things. Do you want to put up a calendar and see things on the calendar each week that need to be done? Or do you need to set timers and work an hour or two here and there? Are you a social person where you enjoy having friends and family over with the opportunity to bond and reminisce over memories and things as you sort through them, and they can help you along the way? And then, or maybe you just want to do it alone. Maybe this is a process that you would rather take the time to do yourself, have a glass of wine, spend some time to really go through it and process it internally. Everybody's different and there's no wrong way to do it. Just, you have to find what works for you and just keep moving forward. Some tips for this process of going through things. I recommend starting in smaller areas and not starting in your biggest, most painful area like your garage. Start in maybe closets or your guest bedrooms and putting a keep pile, a toss pile, and a donate pile. And then asking yourself the top sorting questions. Things like, do I need it or do I want it? Does it have sentimental value? How often do I use it? Do I have another item that performs the same thing? Do you have duplicates of things? Does it still work? And have you used it in the last year? These are all really great questions to really go right to the point of whether or not that item needs to come with you. And another thing, don't make maybe piles. I find that people make maybe piles and it just ends up being a bigger burden at the end, because then you still have to deal with those items. And, you're already getting towards the end. There's already enough happening, whether it be through, the actual moving process, working towards buying a new home and all those other things, that I would just recommend to completely take that off of your plate. So no maybes. And then talk with children. We find that a lot of clients think that their children want some of their belongings, maybe like some of their collectibles or furniture. And I really recommend having this conversation up front ahead of time. So for sure that your children, want them and that they have space for them, because maybe they don't. And maybe that's a time for you guys to figure that out and then figure out, okay, where can those items be rehomed if they're not going to your child? But assuming that they want to take your things, I think is a disservice to everyone. And so going through that ahead of time and having that conversation. Of course, I know that maybe you've lived in a home for 20 or 30 years and you've got a lot of memorabilia and things that you've collected over the years, and they're just not going to have space in your new home. And so as you pass them along, sometimes it's great to memorialize them by taking photos. Maybe if you're doing Polaroids, you could jot down some memories underneath or some notes, make a scrapbook, make a photo album, something that you could keep in your new home, or take with you and give to one of your children or grandchildren. Even taking videos and telling stories about the items is also a nice way to memorialize these items without physically taking them with you. And don't keep things because you're supposed to. I think a lot of people feel like, you know, certain gifts from certain people, they have to keep it, but it's really, it's not going to do you any favors to keep these things that you probably, a lot of times people keep things that they don't even really like, but because they feel like they have to. And so give yourself the opportunity to let go of those items, and then let go of items that have served their purpose. You know, you and your partner may have invested in a set of furniture 20 or 30 years ago, and at the time it was a lot of money, and just consider how much value you got back for those items. Say it's a large dinner table, how many dinners and breakfasts and meals and moments that you shared at that table, that as you go forward, maybe that large 10-person table won't fit in your smaller home. Allowing that item to be rehomed and have someone else, maybe a new family with lots of children, who could reuse it. And just thinking about it in that aspect of it. Like I mentioned, going through and rehoming items. Now that you've sorted and you've got that donation pile, thinking about what's the best place to move it. Or maybe it's not the donation pile, but it's the pile of still usable items. And so things you might want to consider for those items, because you've got, say, whole bedrooms or whole formal living rooms worth of furniture that is still usable. Is a lot of times I know people have formal living rooms that are full of furniture that's barely been sat on or used, that's like new. And so considering if a local relative wants those items, or if they could, if you want to donate to a charity or donation, calling those places ahead of time. I do recommend calling at least a week or two ahead of time. A lot of times they're booked out right now, but they will pick up the items for free and give them to someone who needs them or that could use them going forward. Or if you're going through a stage of a move that it requires a few phases, maybe delivering things to a storage unit. We had a client who, as she was transitioning into her next home, she stayed with her daughter for a couple of months. And so putting things in storage as that process was happening, or talking with consignment, you can also do with some of those like new furniture items. I will say that consignment does take 50%. In general, it takes about 50% of the value of the item. So just know that going in, but it is a good way to rehome things. And then also maybe you've got kids or grandkids that want to take photos and post things on social media, so you can make some money that way. Or have, you know, a good old estate sale or garage sale is a quick way to make some money and sell some items to people that are excited about things that you have and want to use them. And then once you've gone through all of that, you're now at the packing and moving stage. And now it's just time to get moving. And whether you've hired someone like us, Junket Move It, to manage the process and pack and move you, or you've decided to do that yourself and have your friends and family help you, whichever way is happening, just making sure that you have supplies with you, things like bubble wrap and packing paper, the correct size boxes. I recommend small boxes for almost everything in the home, especially dishes and breakables, and heavy things. Large boxes tend to get very cumbersome, and we don't want anybody hurting themselves while we're moving, you or your family. And then just making sure everything's labeled nicely. So as it's moved, we always label things into which room it's going into. Even we go a little bit further sometimes if there's a lot of things, is what's inside the box and certain areas of the room. And then disassembling. We often do a lot of disassembling of beds and larger furniture. And then as you're going through that process, you've already sorted, you're packing now, set aside any broken or unusable items. A lot of times I'll give people just a roll of red tape and mark the items that they won't be taking with them because they're going to ultimately go to the junk. And just so that way during their whole moving process, we know those items are separate, or you know that those items are separate. And then maybe, like I said, I mentioned a lot of people are going through phases, or maybe, you know, their house is not going to be ready for 6 weeks or so on and so forth. And so you have to have a temporary moving solution. In this case, we moved this client's belongings. She chose all the things that she wanted to downsize. Everything fit in this one pod, which is nice. It was perfect for her one bedroom that she was downsizing into. So we strategically packed this pod and made the best use of that space. So then once her home was ready in the 6 weeks, we the pods delivered it and we unpacked it and got her settled in. So a lot of times the downsizing is happening in those phases, and then just helping through all of that process and planning it from the beginning, what's going to happen at those phases and where things are going. And then there's the items that we've left behind that need hauling and cleaning up the home and getting it ready for whether you're going to be renting it or if the house is going to go on the market, and just clearing out those items. So, a lot of, as you're going through that whole process, you may have left behind some items in the backyard, or things might have been building up over the years, or things in an attic. We do a lot of attic cleanouts during downsizing process, and just restoring the home to like new again. So whoever's going to be moving in next has this nice, clear space, maybe bringing in other contractors to do some work on the home, carpet cleaning, regular cleaning in the meantime, just going through that process of getting the house ready as you pack and move out. And then a really important step in the whole process is saying goodbye to your home. We all need closure, so be sure to set aside this time to do whatever feels right to you. Maybe you want to invite over your family, your children, your grandkids, or if you don't have children, maybe you had a lot of social events at your home, some of your good friends, maybe some of your neighbors, doing a walkthrough, just having some time to go through each thing. Maybe you have someone do a small video where you talk about certain memories that happen throughout the home. Maybe you can have one last lunch in the backyard, just something that so you can really internalize that process. Or maybe you don't want to do any of that. Maybe you want to do it yourself or with your partner and just have that quiet time to do whatever you need to do that feels right to you. Again, this is a very personal decision, but I definitely recommend going through this process in whatever way feels comfortable and good to you. And so now that you've said goodbye, you've got everything packed, you're moving into your new space, it's a great time to celebrate that and create a new home again in this new space that feels comfortable to you. And working with, if you have a move manager, you would have discussed ahead of time some of the things that you want set up initially, right? When you first get there, a lot of times we set up the bedroom and then we move to the living room, making sure that we have, at least a couple sets of dishes ready. So, if you have a meal there as you're unpacking, and how much unpacking help that you need. Maybe you're having someone like us help, or you're having your friends and family and help, just making sure that everybody's getting towards the same goals of what you're looking for to not make you frustrated during this process. And maybe there are certain decorations and photos that you want to have set up right away so again, it starts to feel like home and doesn't feel like you're sitting in an empty space, which I know can feel very cold at times. And also the idea of, as you move things in, looking and saying, oh, there's a corner here that now that all my stuff is here, it would be nice to have a small table for me to set my coffee on, or a small shelf. And so kind of making notes of those things that, hey, it'd be fun to go shopping and get a little something for this area. Or, hey, now that I'm here, I would really like to have a new rocking chair. And giving yourself that kind of fun shopping experience to add to the ambiance and the feeling of your new space. So again, it feels like home. And really, I just wanted to introduce ourselves again. This is my husband, Art, and my name's Andriana, and our mission is to help ease the stress for adults during the transitions of moving and clearing out for life's new chapters. A lot of times we'll go in and do a consultation ahead of time and kind of talk to you about what your goals are, how much help do you need, try to just help, be that go-to person. Even, if you don't ultimately end up bringing us in until the end, we can give you some ideas and tips to help make your process get ready and get easier for along the way. And we're happy to talk to anyone. Our phone number and email is here, info@junketmoveit.com. Our website is junketmoveit.com. And my phone number is 925-595-5759. I'm happy to talk to you. And thank you again for your time today. If anybody has questions, let me know.
Thank you. I am definitely a maybe pile person. I'm such a maybe pile. I need to not be so maybe pile.
No maybe piles.
Yes, no maybe piles. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and spotlight myself. And I'm going to introduce Yoon here. All right, Yoon Tung, Senior Real Estate Specialist with Keller Williams. Yoon Tung is a realtor with Keller Williams in the Bay Area, specializing in the sales and purchase of homes in trusts, probate, conservatorships, and divorce situations. Yoon meets clients at some of the most complicated and challenging moments of their lives, in need of solutions that a concerned real estate can help with. She provides solutions that best fit the big picture and then walks them through the process from beginning to end. Her calm approach and steadfast commitment to helping others during difficult transition makes all the difference. We welcome you, Yoon.
Hi, thank you for having me. Yuan Tong, I am Keller Williams Realtor. I very much enjoyed the talk that gave by Russell and Adriana, and that's very important. I see them as a very important steps in getting old. So when we were young, we plan which school to go to, we plan who to marry to, where to live, what house to buy, and where we bring up our children. And then when the time comes, and then for the later part of our life, there needs to have a comprehensive planning. So in my line of jobs, and then I see people who are very well planned. They usually have financial advisors, and then people who are in elder cares, and then to help them go through their scenarios, such as the what's going to happen to you when you're 65 to 75, and then what's going to happen from 75 to 85, and then from 85 and onwards. So each aging stage, and people have a different needs. We wanted to look at their financial needs, their medical needs, their emotional needs, their relationship needs, and the security, and then put everything in consideration, and then to figure out what will be the best living situation for them. And for downsizing, and then also like what Russell always use the right sizing. It's the term for this stage. Is what is the right situation for the elders, for people. I wouldn't say elder. I'm actually getting there as well. For us to be comfortable. Do we need a bigger house because we have children and grandchildren wanted to live with us together, and then to form this family compound community, have the family support all the way to a point that the medical needs is greater, and then they need to talk to Christine and to find out what's the next, or they wanted to retain the freedom, they want to travel more, they want a condo that's low maintenance and first floor, no stair entrance, and then easy to take care, easy to maintain, and then use whatever the financial means they have to enjoy life, which a lot of boomers love to do, traveling, have a great time, party, and enjoy their community. And then so for all those needs, based on the needs, as a realtor, what we do is we help them to identify a property, and with the family together, identify a community and where the clients wanted to live. And then I personally like to say, okay, let's identify where we're going first. And then once we know where we're going, that takes a lot of stress out of selling the home, and then we can come back and prepare the house for sale. So real estate market has changed this year after COVID. It's more competitive now. The market has turning into a more balanced market. So the houses on the market for sale are mostly competing with their condition and the price. So to get a right condition for a house, people who lived in for decades, it takes time to prepare. When we sell a home, I would say about 70 or 80% of the work is prepare the home ready for the market. And then during this time, I need help from Adriana. She was very kind and helpful with the house that I'm selling now. This one that I am in is the house that she helped to clear out bulky furniture, the things that the seller thought, oh, I might keep it, keep it for last moment. I might have friends want them. And then, house needs to go on the market in a week, and then we still have furniture in the house. What do we do? So prepare the house for sale, and then getting house on the market to sell and competing in this market, competing for a good buyer is what we do. And then helping elderly to make the right decision. It takes a power team. What we usually do is when we have family come up to us or professionals in aging in place field, will say, I have this client, here is where my client is in their needs, and then we have a house. And so judging the client needs, we usually bring in the financial part like Russell, and we bring in the physical organizing part as Adriana, where we recommend them to say, talk to Christine, see if what will be the next logical place for them to be. And then so having a power team is very important. This power team can be led by family members, can be led by fiduciaries or trusted professionals in National Aging in Place Council. It is, let's say, well, in the old days, I say people think 65 is old, but the truth is 65. It's not old at all. I've seen people live to their 80s and 90s and over hundreds, and then they're still living a quality and active life. To ensure the life is as pleasant as possible is to make a plan as early as you can. And then we do, at this line of duty, run into rather unfortunate situations. The house is in pre-foreclosure because the elders tripped, fell, got into the hospital, stayed in the care for 2 months, and then the bill's not really getting paid, or they are forgetful, or their family members far away, and then, or they just don't they wanted to do everything on their own. So when things happen like this, the realtors will come in as the firefighters. We come in and say, okay, how can we stop the foreclosure proceeding? How can we stop the bleeding? And if there's potentially, let's say, elder abuse situation, who should we talk to? And then where can we put this elder in a safe situation first? Then let's talk about the rest of the things, how fast as we can to prepare the house for sale, and then actually recoup some assets for the elder to use for later for their care. Oh gosh, there are so many stories, and then I guess I'm not going to tell the stories today. If anyone who is interested to talk about their plans, what they wanted to do as far as the living arrangements, and then I will be very happy to have a free consultation, and then just like a Russell, or let's just have a chat. As long as you need, maybe I am not the solution, maybe reverse mortgage is your solution, and then I will have the resource, the power team ready for you. And from National Aging in Place Council San Francisco chapter, or from, let's say, legal assistance for seniors, or any of those credible elder care organizations in the Bay Area. My contact information is in the chat. My phone number is 415-686-0200. My email address is Yuan, spelled Y-U-N, at yuntonghomes.com, YUNTONGHOMES.com. And then so this is the real estate part. So the next is Christine. Christine's the owner and the senior living advisor with Creating New Hope. Am I doing the right thing? Is this the segment that I should have gone?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Introduce you.
You're on. Introduce me. That actually works out good.
Yeah. Christine is a member of National Aging in Place Council. She's a founding member of the Bay Area chapter. And then she is a senior living advisor with Creating New Hope, a complimentary referral service providing families with pre-screened care options and then their aging for their aging loved ones. And Christine has spent 10 years serving as a local advocate and a case manager and a mental health counselor at John Mayer. In 2016, Christine took on the conservator responsibility for her grandmother due to Alzheimer's diagnosis. And then quickly, Christine lived through the experience and at managing elder adults' unique care needs. And then let's welcome Christine.
Thank you, everyone. I'm going to try to share my slides here. Share screen. Okay, you guys see my slides?
Yep.
Oh, I'm not going to play from the start. I'm going to go to 5. Okay. So Creating New Hope, we're senior living advisors, and what we specifically do is support families in identifying quality care options. Now, what does that mean and what does that look like? So we're taking the guesswork out of identifying what type of care situations someone may need, just like with what Russell was talking about in terms of in-home care. Right now in the Bay Area, you can expect to pay $30 to $35 an hour for in-home care easily. So a lot of folks in California, they have a lot of equity in their house. So in some instances, they will stay in their house for as long as possible until they start to see the money go down and down and down. And then sometimes if there's like a cognitive impairment, families will look at alternative care options because maybe grandma or mom can't be alone. So I want to give you this little quick fact. More than 6 million Americans are living with Alzheimer's. By 2050, this number is projected to rise to nearly 13 million. Now another one, approximately 1/4 of dementia caregivers are the sandwich generation. Caregivers mean that they are not only caring for their aging parents, but they're also caring for their children under 18. And a lot of caregivers age range about 66 years old. So there's a lot of older adults that are taking care of parents and their loved ones. So anytime a family is looking for assisted living communities, I'll come out and do a complete consultation, or we could do it on Zoom, where I'm kind of identifying what type of care needs do you need now and in the future, because that's very important, especially if there's a limited amount of income. Let's say for a sale of a property, you need to make sure that you're going to be in a facility that will meet all of your needs. So different types of care. You have your independent, assisted, memory care, and skilled nursing. Independent living is much like I would say, hotel style living. You can live in an independent living facility and have lots of activities, opportunities for engagement, transportation to doctor's appointments. All of your meals are provided for you. And some of these places are great. And they range about $3,500 a month, and that's with no care. You're looking at like a studio in the Bay Area at about $3,500. Your laundry's done, cleaning, utilities, as well as all of your meals are provided, and probably about 2 transportation appointments a week. Some of the larger assisted living communities, they are like the Ritz-Carlton of senior living. So I always tell families, like, let's look at the conditions that you may be dealing with later on. So if you know mom has mild cognitive impairment and she needs memory care in the future, or let's say there is Alzheimer's in your family bloodline, it's probably a good idea to look at a facility that also has a memory care component to it. And I always tell families, when your loved one can no longer communicate and they can no longer ambulate, the best option and most affordable option, it would be a smaller residential care home, which they typically have 6 residents and 2 caregivers at any time. And you can pay $5,000 to $7,000 a month for full around the clock care. So that's someone that, they need assistance with transferring, feeding, bathing, all full 100% care can be provided in these facilities. They are also licensed, same as the larger facilities. They are just much more affordable. And a lot of them are the owners. Some of them are owner occupied or are registered nurses that operate these facilities. And skilled nursing, a lot of families think, oh, Medicare and Medi-Cal is going to pay for my loved one if they need a little support. And no, do not wait on the government to pay for any type of long-term care. You have to have a skilled need to obtain one of these assisted living waivers by Medi-Cal. So you're looking at like intensive care that has to be managed by a physician, a registered nurse, like a tracheotomy, an ostomy bag. You will have a share of cost after your 100 days that Medicare will pay for, and skilled nursing facilities are ranging anywhere from $11,000 to $14,000 a month. And what I specialize in specifically is helping families identifying those quality ones, because let's face it, there's a lot of people that they're not wanting to place their loved ones in any type of communal care setting, just maybe fear of COVID or neglect, or maybe they'll, fall or won't get the type of care they need. It's, a cumbersome process and scary. Nobody wants to put their loved one in a nursing home, but sometimes you have to. So what I specialize in is providing families with those transparency records from the Department of Social Services. So I teach families how to look up this information if they decide, we're just going to go it alone and look for a facility on our own. I'll teach them how to do this. If not, and if they decide to work with us, which we're a complimentary service, 100% free, the families do not receive any invoice or billing from us at all. We are much like realtors. We charge the facility a referral fee, but I have already pre-vetted facilities right here locally in the Bay Area. I have been into probably every single facility from Contra Costa, Alameda, Solano County, unless they've opened new during COVID, haven't been inside there. But I've met them, checked out their facilities, checked out their transparency records. And here's like the true performance data on these facilities. You can look up by, I think my picture is in the way. But so here you can look at a listing, and this is in Hayward. You can see some facilities are actually on probation. Those are the ones you want to avoid at all cost. And what I'm looking for when I'm reading these transparency records is I am looking at this specific information, type A and type B citations. A type A citation imposes immediate health and safety risk. Type B citations, typically paperwork stuff. But looking at this facility, they definitely didn't pass my vetting process. On probation, been licensed since 2008. They only have 38 residents, and they have a lot of complaints against them. I'm looking at, do they have a history of bed sores, personal rights violations? Do they have caregivers that aren't associated to their license, which can be a scary thing, because who is this person, caregiver, taking care of my grandma in this facility, and they aren't even background screened? So I want to definitely honor our time, but I also wanted to show you specifically, this is what a referral from me will look like from my database where I've pre-vetted the facilities. They're going to pay how much it costs, the range, if there's any issues, and they're going to get that transparency record directly from the Department of Social Services. So I'm very specific and in my approach when I'm identifying quality care facilities. And I always make sure I provide families with their personal rights, because especially during these difficult COVID times, families were very uncertain, like, could they take their loved one out? Could they bring them to a doctor's appointment? So knowing their personal rights in a residential care facility is very important. And lastly, I always tell families, know the difference between a domestic referral agency and a licensed home care agency. If you're dealing with a licensed home care agency, they're going to have a number that's listed with the Department of Social Services. They are typically going to range $30 to $35 an hour, but their caregivers are background, live scan, verified DSS clearance. They're going to have, workers' comp, liability coverage, and paid fair wages. So you don't have to worry about having a situation where a caregiver or the girl down the street gets hurt in grandma's house and now you have a lawsuit. Because I've seen a lot of that is families will say, you know what, we're going to go the cheaper route and pay the lady down the street from the church $20 an hour. And then she's trying to help grandma. She's unskilled and they fall in the bathroom. And now the lady has a lawsuit against you. And now there's a lien against that one asset that was going to pay for grandma's long-term care. So I always tell families the cheaper route isn't the better. It's not the better option. So be careful. And with that, I will stop my slides and open it up for questions. If anyone has any questions.
I have a question. So does every facility participate with you?
Every facility wants to participate with me because I'm such a good marketer, but I don't contract with all of them because there are just some that if I wouldn't send my grandmother there, I wouldn't send yours.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm sure you can find a lot of unlicensed facilities out there that are cheaper. And I'm like, no, sorry, you're on your own.
Yeah.
Apologies. But anytime families come to me, I'm connecting them, especially through the National Aging in Place Council with licensed providers, affordable residential care facilities. And sometimes they have to go further out. Maybe you're going to Pittsburgh, Antioch, Bay Point in a shared room situation when there are limited funds. Or I'm connecting them with resources that can be supportive, like IHSS, in-home supportive services. So I'm kind of helping them navigate these treacherous waters sometimes when funds are limited, or I'm connecting them with you guys, reverse mortgage, or selling the one asset that they do have.
Right. So you mentioned a vetting process. So are you personally vetting?
Yep.
Okay. Not a system that's available to you kind of thing.
No. And I will actually show my, I have a checklist that I've come up with. Let me just pull this up. I want to show you. And here's what I look for. And let's say if families are, especially during COVID, a lot of the facilities weren't allowing everyone in. If you weren't an essential part of the business or what was going on in the facility, they didn't want you in their building. So I'm like, okay, families, I'm going to schedule all of these tours because this is what I'll do with families. I'll do the assessment. I'll I'll determine which places would better suit their needs and schedule tours. And then I'm providing them with this whole entire checklist, things to check. Does it look like the staff at the facility is rushing around? I want them to try the food. When the salesperson at the facility is walking around giving tours and they're are they knocking on the resident's room? Is there a sense of anonymity, or are they just busting over? Hey, Carol, we're in your room, or because I've seen that happen and I'm like, oh no. Any other landlord couldn't do that. What are you doing?
No problem.
So I'm asking those very specific questions and I'm checking their transparency records.
Got it.
All right. Well, I will leave it to our fearless leader to end us, to call us to a close, Miss Mendez. Are you muted? No? Okay. Then I'll close us out. Well, thank you everyone for participating. We appreciate the time. And if you have any other questions, please put it in the chat or raise your hand. We'll answer them. And then we'll also post this on our social media pages and the National Aging in Place Facebook page, as well as YouTube page and all of that. Thank you. Appreciate it. Have a wonderful Thursday, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Great
All
job.
right. Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.